I think what success looks like is when organizations can mobilize around the idea of this constantly connected customer. And it's customer in the sales and marketing sense. It's also your employees. And it's the idea that everyone within your four walls and beyond, they are constantly connected. And often, if not on their phone, on multiple devices all at once. And in that reality, how do you sell better? How do you market better? How do you rethink how you approach R&D? How do you service those customers? How do you recruit? How do you engage those customers? It's every business process that has to be re-architected and transformed from the ground up. I think most people, when they think about social media or digital, they think too narrowly about marketing. And marketing is really just the tip of the iceberg. Setting up a Twitter page or a Facebook page, that's not going to transform your business. You have to think much more broadly, function by function. What are my salespeople doing? How can we change their daily workflow to harness all the data that's on LinkedIn, or to have them look up all of their prospects on Twitter before they pick up the phone? How did we help them do their homework using these new tools that are now available? Same thing in customer service and support. Even from a business model perspective, how do we evolve organizations from kind of from the offline analog era to be constantly connected digitally the way that their customers are? I think a fully engaged insurance company, or any company, needs to be constantly connected to their customer. And you see this because today's consumer is constantly on social, mobile, digital. You see that their loyalty gets shaped by the companies that they're engaging with the most on social, mobile, and digital. And hence, Amazon's rise, Google, Facebook. And so if you're an insurance company, you're really coming from a tough spot because you're coming from a very low engagement, low frequency place. And not only that, but your engagement typically is offline. So neither are you digital, nor are you in constant contact. I think the challenge of your average insurance company is, from a digital perspective, is they're really viewing it not pretty narrowly, right? They're viewing it either as a marketing tool only, or at best they're looking at it from a digital direct perspective. And we know that's a tiny portion of the market. It'll grow, but the bigger opportunity is to say, let's take our core business, let's take our core distribution channels, and let's transform those through social, mobile, and digital. You look at a lot of these insurance companies, it's not that they don't have digital expertise. They have it. Everyone's been hiring a chief digital officer, a VP of innovation, but you look at what these teams, where they sit in the organization and what they've been tasked with and how closely they work with agency and distribution. They're really focused on direct-to-consumer models. And again, that's just one of a number of things that need to happen. And so I think the challenge and I think the opportunity in the coming months and years will be, how do we take that digital thinking and apply it to the core business? I think that the biggest challenge and why there hasn't been more innovation within traditional distribution, for example, has been that it's very hard to find someone with a digital skill set who also understands field sales, and vice versa. Right? Most heads of distribution, they're not incredibly well-versed in social media and digital. And so if you bring in someone who's done digital at another firm, usually it's from outside the industry, they've typically built direct businesses, e-commerce businesses. And so that's the lens that they're approaching this, versus saying, oh, what is the day in the life of an insurance agent? And more importantly, what's the day in the life of our customer who's primarily engaging with their insurance agent, and how do I make sure I modernize that? Chief digital officers can and should have a cross-functional mandate, but ultimately there needs to be someone who sits inside distribution, for example, and works with sales, works with the agents, works with sales management, builds trust and credibility there to help transform from inside out, versus this separate team who's also, by the way, trying to do all these other things like digital direct. I think distribution is a big prize in terms of unlocking digital and productivity. And it started off really as, how do we make sure that our agents are where their customer is, their customers and prospects, right? Because a lot of them either didn't have a social media presence or they weren't allowed to text for regulatory reasons. And so the initial question that they asked us to partner with them on was, let's get our agents on these channels. And then it's evolved, and what it's become has been, it's actually not enough to be on social and texting and have a website that pulls up on a mobile device. Of course you need to do that. That's table stakes, right? That's not transformational from the customer's point of view, because they already get that from every other industry that they're a customer of. And so that's just table stakes. What has been truly transformational has been to say, what can we, now that we're on all of these channels, how do we take the data insights from all of these channels and stitch them together in ways that change the agent's daily workflow? We actually change what they spend time on. And because we have all these data signals now, how do we score these customer affinities and behaviors and signals and use that to help agents become data-driven? And so when I look at who's doing that really well, we look, our partnerships with Allstate on the multi-line side has been really strong. New York Life, AXA, all of these companies have done a really good job of viewing social, digital, and mobile not just as channels, but actually as ways to completely re-architect sales process. Turns out when you're in insurance and you're distributing primarily through your agents, a big part of the customer experience is how the customer experiences the agent. And if your agent is archaic and doesn't have a modern website that doesn't pull up on your iPhone, if your agent doesn't text you back when you text them for regulatory reasons, then that is a broken customer experience. And so we need to start there, and we need to fix that.